Let's do our daily quick cap here of ticker symbol CZR. This is Caesars Entertainment Incorporated. And this turned out to be a pretty decent trade for us. When I zoom in, it's not going to look like much, truly, but it turned out to be pretty good, and you'll see how that happened. So it pumped up on our scanners the end of this day right here. And again, I'll zoom in. You'll be able to see it clearly in just a second. But I need to stay zoomed out so I can explain a couple things. So when it showed up on the scanners, it immediately got my attention because of how perfectly it's bouncing at that 50 SMA. So this was a beautiful river to valley setup, is what we call it at Armor Trading Systems. But we don't trade just if that criteria is met. We need to see some support and resistance. We need to see some reasoning behind the bounce. And the most, I mean, it's just glaringly obvious is that we are in a very long term downtrend. I mean, pretty much the entire market is, but we're in a really long term downtrend. So I wanted to see if there was a trend line that could be drawn in here. And here's a little tip when you're drawing trend lines: if you can't see it right off the bat, uh, put your first point at the point that you're the most recent area. So that was the most recent, so we can put a point there. And then we can just pull the line all the way back here, and we can start adjusting it, moving it around and stuff. And so that's what we'll do now. So if you can start low or start high and just move your way up till you see it hit something. And it can't just hit something random. Like, it's hitting right there, obviously, but that's not there's no connection there. So we keep coming up, keep coming up. Now we got a little bit right in there, and I will draw that in real quick. This isn't the one that I ended up using, but this is just showing you that there's some strength on this line. We've got a point here. We can see here, all through here, where it bounced at was right along that line. And then right there, that high was at that line as well. That is not a coincidence. People are seeing that. Price is reacting accordingly at that level. And price got up to it again and was poised for another bounce. So there was that level. There was, I think, maybe just one more, the main one that I drew in. And that was right in there. And a lot for the same reasons, in that we see how price was reacting at it all through here, and then again here, and then again, and all through here, really. It's just, it never really chose a direction after it would break it. It kind of just whipped around. Price did. Started to pull away from it here, but then it gapped down and shot straight back down to that line. And then right there, we got really close to it. So I felt pretty comfortable with that trend line there. And I was good with it. It still wasn't perfect, a perfect trend line, but I was good with it. So then if we zoom in and we look at this area right in here, you can see this was a really good area of resistance. And we'll go ahead and draw that in. I'm going to draw where price was bouncing at right here. I'm going to draw it in right here so we can see the general area. That's pretty close anyways. So you can see the general area, that this is a significant area right here where I've drawn the white line. Pretty significant because it's obvious to see. We've got these pivot areas here. We've got that gap down. Nice pyramid formation right here. And so it seemed to me like we had really three areas of resistance. The first being that 50 SMA, then we had the trend line, and then we had this overhead horizontal resistance as well. So I felt pretty good about trading this, and all I had to do was let it get triggered and enter the trade. And this was a tricky one in that it took absolutely forever to even get triggered. In fact, today's Monday, so this was a Friday. Last Friday this happened, and I think this was our only one that ended up getting triggered. and it took it a while, as we'll get into. But one thing I do always go over is exit strategies in these videos. And I want to make clear these are not the only types of exit strategies there are out there. Um, this is just something to give you a little foundation, a little bit of an idea, and hopefully help you decide what you want to do as far as when to exit a trade, because everything leading up to the actual exit is already done for you. Um, I go over the technical analysis side of it, the reason why it's on the watch list, the reason why I'm potentially trading it. I go over the entry, the stops, the stop loss, which will help you determine your position size so that you can properly and professionally control your risk. Uh, all that's given to you. You just got to decide when to exit, and it's given in the each and every morning in the war room before the market opens. That's when it happens. If you want to know more about that, please check out armortrades.com. So, on this one, we've gone over the technical analysis side. I've shown you why I had faith in it and gave you that little tip on drawing a trend line. Show you why I believe it was going to work, and as long as it got triggered, and it did. So we got triggered really late in the day, but we'll go over the 3 exit strategies, and when we get into the 1 minute, we'll see exactly where it triggered at. So the first exit strategy would be to exit or begin scaling out into previous support or resistance. And the only area, I mean, not the only one, but I guess the closest one was, I'll draw it in so that you can see it, and it was right, where are we at? Right about there. It's very subject. You can see it's this low, basically, but you see how many times, like here, here, right there, there, pretty close there, there, again there. Uh, that would have been a good spot to take profit, and you can see it really didn't go much lower than that. It also didn't close much higher than that either. I drew that line in at 42.44, and it closed at 42.65, so about 20 cents, which I guess that is fairly substantial on a $40 stock. Uh, but still, either way, that would have been the first area, and then really after that, I wouldn't have done anything until like right, where was it? Right there, which was the low of that day, and you can see we had right in there. It got really close to it there. It got really close to it. The main reason why it caught my eye was here because of that gap. And yes, I know the gap had already filled, but that's why I'm just telling you that's why that area caught my eye, and I wanted to look at it. But it obviously never reached that level. So what you could do in that case is, if you're scaling out, you could exit completely into that first resistance level, but if you are scaling out, you can make the decision to take off some, most, whatever of your position size, and then move your stop and close at the end of the day no matter what. Regardless of what the trade is doing, go ahead and close the trade so that you can not have to risk anything overnight, or you can turn it into a swing trade. There's a ton of different options. The main reason why I go over that is so you can see how to find an area based on support and resistance to potentially take profit. So the second exit strategy is to just, when it triggers, you enter the trade, you set your stop, and which again, the stop is given each and every morning in the war room as well. So you enter the trade, set your stop, and then just let it ride throughout the day. And you can move your stop as the day goes on. You can even decide to change your strategy, and if you get up a lot of money, go ahead and just exit if you want to. Or you could wait till the end of the day, and doing that will allow you to catch some pretty big runners and allow you to profit really well on some trades. But there are times where you could turn a winning trade into a losing trade. It's just something you have to decide. Would you rather have an increased winning percentage or a much increased average winner as far as the dollar amount goes? Just kind of fits your personality. Decide what you would prefer. Now, the last exit strategy we'll go over is the scalp. So the scalping, well, I guess we'll just zoom in here. So we see our entry on here was 92.98. Actually, I didn't really go over it that well earlier in the video. 92.98 was our trigger. So what that means is up here, I need to see 92.9, or excuse me, not 92, 42. See if I can get it together, man. 42.98 was our trigger. So what I needed to see was 42.97 print up here. That will let me know that the candle has in fact broken through our trigger price and we can enter. So 42, not 92, you big ding dong. 42.98. And it got close over here, but it didn't quite happen. We can see the lows are 43.10 right there. Got close to it. Got close to it again over here. But just a few minutes after that, then we got this happened right here. And at 11:24, it finally triggered. 11:24. So it took this trade nearly 2 hours to trigger. Now, from a scalping standpoint, once it did, you were pretty much golden. Within, what's that? Well, about 2 hours, it was down a point. This is not a super fast moving stock, but you can definitely still make money with stocks like this. You were never down really at any point. The high of that candle was 43.01. So even if you got filled, let's just say you got filled at 42.95, the worst you were ever down was 6 cents. That would have been the worst. Even if you got filled at 90, which on a slow-ish moving stock like this, that an 8-cent fall or an 8-cent slippage would have been kind of probably more than likely that would have been bad execution. You entered maybe a little later than you wanted. But even if that happened, you're still only down 11 cents at the worst. And then really after, it kind of dilly-dallied around for a couple minutes, and then after that, it was just pretty much straight down. Just a grind down for most of the day. It did pop back up, and we can see it closed at 42.65. However, ended up working out pretty well, no matter what your exit strategy was. The key thing when scalping is to remember to have a good, firm stop set in place so that you can always control your risk. And what I usually do, I typically do this almost every day, is it usually doesn't take this long to happen, but I will set conditional orders. And I've got a separate video on conditional orders in the arsenal at armortrades.com. If you're a standard or premium member, you can check it out and you can see exactly how I do conditional orders. And so I'll do it. I'll say I want to sell, X amount of shares of CZR when the actual price, not when the bid or the ask, but when the actual price breaks a certain level. So you can do that. You can set a conditional order so that you don't have to watch the stock the entire time. You can set a conditional order. Heck, you can set a limit order, I guess, if you wanted to. And I don't have anything against limit orders. I just prefer conditional orders. But you can set that order, and then just when it triggers, it'll have the alert set for your phone on your phone if you're away from your computer, so that you can then begin monitoring it or then set your stop. But you don't have to be watching this the entire time. I didn't. You don't have to be watching it to trade it. You can set your orders, and then once it triggers, then you worry about setting your stops and everything. But either way, you can see this turned out to be a pretty good trade. We got over 30, even if you waited till the close of the day, over 30 cents, which is a pretty decent trade on, like I said, a $42 stock. And yeah, pretty happy with it. Wasn't a huge winner, but that's not what we're after each and every time. We just need the base hits. That about wraps it up for this video. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe. It would mean a lot. I would greatly appreciate it. Again, I really appreciate you watching this video. Hope you learned something from it, and God bless.